All right, what is up, guys? I hope you are having a wonderful day. Today's video, I wanted to start off by outlining more in detail what the phases for Alpha 2 will be. It is October now, and October 25th is when the official Alpha 2 test phase starts. I've been excited about this for a couple years. I'm excited to get in there and test and figure some things out and nerd out on something I'm excited about. And so that's what we're going to talk about this video. We're going to talk about what entails for phase 1, what they've outlined what it is, and then we're going to read between the lines. And we're going to go in a little bit more detail what each one is in my opinion, and we're just going to talk about that in this video. So that's what we're going to do. This video will cover phase 1. We'll talk a little bit about phase 2 and phase 3 and the differences and whatnot, but most of this video will be phase 1. So let's dive into it. Now, before we dive into this, I want to clear up some confusing schedule dates, because a lot of this can be confusing if you're looking at purchasing keys. I'm personally not going to convince you either way. This is a choice you need to make on your own. Hopefully this information gives you more information to make a better decision. But this phase 1 that's starting October 25th, this is for people that purchased the old Alpha 2 bundles from January of this year to before. And so this is the start date for those people, which is phase 1, phase 2 December 20th, and phase 3 May 1st. Those are the new bundle dates. And so I'm only going over here to show you this because I've had a few friends DM me and they've asked me the difference between these bundles. You have your Alpha 2 first wave, your Alpha 2 second wave, and your Alpha 2 third wave. And it says your starting date for people that purchase this key is November 8th. So for most of us, it's October 25th, but if you purchase this, you start November 8th. The second wave is December 20th, which obviously lines up with phase 2, and then May 1st, that obviously lines up with wave 3. The question I have had friends ask me is, do you have to buy all 3 bundles in order to participate in all the waves? And the answer is no. This is just where you start. So if you buy this wave 1 bundle, hypothetically, you start November 8th, and you get access to wave 1, wave 2, and wave 3. So if you go and check your info here, you have access to future Alpha 2 testing started Friday, November 8th, continuing to subsequent test phase. So yeah, you have access to all of this. So whatever bundle you purchase here is just where you start. You don't have to purchase all 3. You only need to purchase the 1. But yeah, we're going to talk about this November 8th bundle. If you end up purchasing this, you start November 8th. For the rest of us, we start October 25th. Now, what will entail for phase 1? Number 1, you see right away, the tests will start from Friday through Sunday. If you count, that is 3 days, which means that every week, the servers will be offline for 4 out of 7 days. So more days offline than they are online. Their test goals: scalability, stability, performance, and progression. Now, when I see this, I see October's stages being not so fun from attempting to participate in systems perspective. Like, this is all server scalability, server stability, server performance, these sorts of things. And so when I saw Friday through Sunday that the tests are going to happen and they're going to have 4 days down, they are planning for having issues with performance for their servers. The entire point is the servers are their base for which they are going to add different features into the game. The base needs to be solid. The base needs to work properly. And it's not saying that it can't work properly right away on October 25th, but they're setting aside the time to acknowledge that it may not go well. And so my expectations for October 25th are that when I hop on, it's going to be a laggy mess until December 20th. And it still will have lag, and they'll still have performance issues probably when we're testing 5 days a week, but it'll be much less so. The performance will be a lot better. But I'm just kind of assuming that because Intrepid is setting aside 4 days to fix things, that it could go really wrong. It could be really bad initially, and that's just my expectation. I like to look at both ends and see like absolute best case and worst case scenario, and just acknowledge that either one can happen. I'm not a gaming developer. We don't know what problems they may encounter when they start adding a lot more people. Let's just acknowledge that, yeah, if you purchase the phase 1 key, you're helping to support the game. And you also acknowledge that most of the tests that you're involving are just existing on a server and seeing if you lag out and if things are going to go poorly. But it should get better as we get on throughout the testing phase, but that's how I'm viewing phase 1. They also added, I know this isn't super easy to read, but it's the best that we have. They also added a bunch of details in here. So first of all, let's look at the world. 55 plus square kilometers of the western and eastern Ayland Riverlands. I'll provide a map later on in this video if you guys want to check that out as well. Sand Squall Desert, Vanguard Tropics, 36 points of interest, day and night cycle, 4 seasons, dynamic world populations, dynamic reward tables, 1 big dungeon, and 4 pocket dungeons. Now, I like to do this comparison because it is a more recent game that a lot of people played. I like to compare this to New World's map size because I saw the Steam charts, guys. It is a safe space here. We don't have to lie about who participated and played in New World and who didn't, but it gives you an idea. 55 square kilometers is, according to Google, if it's to be believed, it is roughly the size of New World's initial map. Before Brimstone Stands, before their new area, this entire area, according to Google, which is infallible and it's always correct, 21 square miles. You do a Google search, 21 square miles is roughly 54 square kilometers. So roughly about the same size of New World's map, which is pretty exciting. 1 dungeon, which is about the same that New World released with. 4 seasons, which is more seasons than New World released with. Dynamic world populations, which is cool. They showed some of the AI voice interpretation in the latest live stream, and it made the world where they were at feel a little bit more alive. Going into detail on their nodes. Nodes is their city or village system. 5 node locations to level 3. Using some systems from level 4. Dynamic road leveling, provide buffs and advance in visual quality. Okay, so as these things level, the roads also level as well, and they grow. That's super interesting. 4 service building plots, 5 default buildings, 8 active constructed buildings, 5 passive constructed buildings, node currency, and citizenship. 56 tax categories. I have no idea what this means, but if it involves money, I'm excited about it. Mayorship, buy orders, 25 plus player commodities, 24 mayoral commission types. So these are quests that mayors can give out. 36 node resources with tier 1 to tier 3 recipes and service building expansion voting. So this is quite a bit. This is quite a bit of details. Before we dive into more about nodes, I need to also preface that not all of these things will be available at the beginning of phase 1. They have made it clear that these things they hope to have integrated throughout phase 1. And so they're going to have things, they're going to start with X amount and they're going to add more and more of these systems as it goes on. They hope by December 20th, which is phase 2, which we showed before, that all of these things in phase 1 will be online. But yeah, so the node system itself is super interesting. This is one of the main features that attracted me to Ashes of Creation, is the fact that the world is dynamic and changing. And so we will get to see that right away in Alpha 2. We get to level up from level 1 to level 3, which, you know, it's a base level, but we get to kind of see the idea and see the vision. And there's a lot here. There is a lot here. 56 tax categories, like I said. You got buy orders, 25 plus player commodities, 24 different mayoral commissions, so different quests that mayors can do in order to advance the node. I think that's super interesting. 3 races. This isn't fully fleshed out, but this is more races than what you get in New World. You get it, guys, because there are no racial choices in New World, so this is already more there. Archetypes. You have the tank, you have the fighter, you have the mage, you have the cleric, you have the ranger, and you have the bard. This is also more archetypes in New World because that's a weapon system. I'm gonna stop bashing New World. I just think it's funny right now. But as far as the archetypes go, this is just the main archetype. Obviously, you combine one archetype with the other in order to make classes. We're nowhere near the class system yet, but we get 6 of the 8 archetypes at base to start testing with. No rogue and no summoner throughout phase 1 of Alpha 2, which is disappointing. As a guy that wants to play rogue, I do want to do that, but I'll settle with playing the other 6 first, and you know, it'll be like a little treat for me when I finally get to hop on the rogue. But 130 plus abilities, 60 plus passives, 22 status conditions. First thing I saw when I saw this is like, these are pretty fleshed out. We are obviously not going to be at max level. I think we only get up to level 25 for Alpha 2. Max level in Ashes of Creation is level 50, but the fact that you have 130 plus abilities to test out among these archetypes is pretty impressive. Like that is a lot of skills and abilities to test out. 60 plus passives, also a lot. And this, like I said, this is not taking into account the fact that these archetypes morph into classes by combining one archetype, so a tank with a fighter or a fighter with a ranger, in order to make a specific class. And so these things will evolve over time as well when we get to that type of system. But yeah, very, very fun starting point in my opinion, considering that we have a bunch of abilities to test. This is one of the things I'm most excited about testing in Alpha 2. And so yeah, getting in there to test all these different status conditions and whatnot is very exciting for me. Now, as far as weapons go, we have a two-handed greatsword, we have a one-handed mace, we have a one-handed sword, we have a scepter, we have a wand, a longbow, and a short bow. I've said this before in other videos. I think it's great that it's not just bow. I think it's great that they have longbow and short bow for different stylistic reasons historically. Short bow is just superior in every way, and longbow people need to deal with it, but I still like the fact that people get to choose to have the inferior bow. I think that's fantastic. I think those of you guys that really like the longbow and you guys want to just be worse, that's fine by me. We also have the spell book, shields and focuses for offhand, which is also very cool. 30 plus nodes per weapon skill tree. So this is a different type of node. These are different choices for in your weapon skill tree. You can hit different points. They have different varying trees, obviously a work in progress. But when I first saw this too, I was like, wow, these are more weapons than what we got for the introduction of New World. So Alpha 2 is... This is a lot of stuff that we are getting during the first phase. PvP, we have flagging. So as you guys know, Ashes of Creation has a corruption system. They also have that. They have lawless zones. Lawless zones is something that they created. For those of you guys that don't know, the ocean in Ashes of Creation is a completely always-on PvP scenario where there is no corruption. You can just kill each other to your heart's content. As they explained, Lawless Zones isn't something that will go live during the game. It is how they're going to expand the map. So as they're developing and as they're branching out the map further, the outskirts of the map are stuff that's not as developed, right? And so then in those areas, they have these Lawless Zones to where there is no corruption. It's just a wasteland where you might have a few NPCs to test stuff out, kind of like the Wild Wild West, essentially. And so I think that's a neat idea to explain that, this game is a work in progress, and they're going to have a system built around that, which I thought was super interesting. Guild Wars, very excited to get in and test Guild Wars and Node Wars as well. Both these are very exciting. It's too bad that they don't have node sieges, but I mean, this is a lot of content. Guild Wars is something that they haven't covered in a live stream yet, so I'm excited to see the differences between Guild Wars and Node Wars. Node Wars they have discussed in a live stream, and it was very fun to see. And then they obviously have the Caravan PvP event system, which is one of the systems I am also extremely excited to test. I like combat. I like making money in game, and this allows me to do both. It's like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's basically perfect in my eyes. And so I think this is great that we're going to have this as well. Systems and economy, which is also important. Flying ground and water mounts. Cool. Caravans, management, cargo, caravan events. They are going to have, I think that says rafts. Mail system, player trading, level 25 for artisan profession, novice, apprentice, and journeyman. You could be a Grandmaster Crafter at the highest level, and so this is showing you your progression that they have so far. 15 unique gathering tools, 33 plus unique gatherables. They have surveying, fishing, hunting, processing, 400 plus recipes for processing. That's a lot in my opinion. 600 plus recipes for crafting. That is also a lot. Gear enchantments, party and raid markers, chat, guild chat, party chat, citizenship chat, and global. So global will be everybody in the area. Citizenship is citizens of a node where you guys can chat with people in your node. Party, obviously self-explanatory. Guild, self-explanatory. And then you have item deconstruction and repair, and 45 caravan components. And so when I look at this, I see a crafting and processing system that is much larger than New World. I'm going to keep driving this home. There's a lot here. There's a lot here. Obviously, it won't be incorporated right away, but there is a lot of meat on the bones for phase 1. And then content, 460 plus unique pieces of gear, Node War God Spike event. We saw this during a live stream. You guys can feel free. You can go back and look. The God Spike event was very cool. 16 unique public events, 149 story-driven quests and commissions. So more commissions that you can do in story-driven quests, which is great. 111 treasure maps, 3 world bosses, plus 44, with about 44 different abilities and behaviors among the 3 world bosses. That was the other thing that was cool, is these different world bosses have different behaviors based on how many people are interacting with them and, you know, how quickly they get attacked and these sorts of things. So I'm very excited to see how these world bosses work. I've been recently playing Throne and Liberty. I've talked about this on other live streams as well. Event systems in MMORPGs always kind of feel like they're lacking because everybody wants to participate and do the event. Everybody groups up and runs around. You have 50 to 100 people running around doing one event all at the same time. And basically it's not enjoyable to attempt to fight a big boss because it just dies so quickly. And so you can never have a proper difficulty for an event because at the start of the event you have hundreds of people participating, and then towards the end you might have 10, 15 people participating. And so how you can make those adjustments is you have the boss scale based off the amount of people interacting with it. And this is something that they've kind of talked about a little bit with their world bosses having different behaviors and different abilities. And I'm excited to see how that gets figured out. It would be very cool to finally have an MMORPG where world events would be fun and enjoyable and kind of challenging instead of just steamrolling and collecting stuff. So I'm looking forward to seeing exactly what this is. I'll do a video on it, obviously, when we get to it. 75 unique enemy creatures, plus 280 unique NPC abilities and behaviors. So 280 plus unique NPC abilities and behaviors. When I look at this bottom area for content, 460 unique pieces of gear. This is more gear than what you would get in New World. So, yeah, I think phase 1 looks like a good time. I think I'm looking forward to getting in here and testing phase 1 and getting all this stuff figured out. But I am just acknowledging that on the low end, in the worst case scenario, it's going to be a laggy, buggy mess. And that's just kind of the way it's going to be. They want to make sure the scalability, stability, and performance is good. It might not go well the first couple weeks. It might not go well the first month. I'm just acknowledging. I'm trying to emotionally hedge here a little bit, like I think everybody else is in the space. Just saying like, hey, server might not work properly. So even though all this stuff looks really cool, all of it looks really in depth, we're getting a lot of meat on the bones to test and figure stuff out. None of this will really matter until the server is working properly. And so I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer about it. It's just acknowledging that, you know, this can and will possibly happen. And so I'm really excited for phase 1. I'm excited to get in there and, you know, provide feedback and get input. I do not have access to the pre-alpha 2 testing stuff. I have seen some things like a lot of different people in the space. I've seen some good, I've seen some bad. That's just the way tests go. And frankly, I don't think it matters long term. I think what Intrepid needs to do is get this information, get workable information for testing things, for stress testing their systems, and put forward the best game possible. I think in the grand scheme of things, if it doesn't work well right away during Alpha 2, I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters at all. I'm going to do a video on this later on this week talking about it. All that matters is that they get actionable information to make the best possible game. And when the game goes live, people will test it regardless of what happens during the alpha and beta stages, because that's what's happened in other games. That's going to happen in this one as well. And so people may think that this moment is big and they may be worried about what's going to happen right here, but in a year from now, 6 months from now, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. So yeah, that's my outline for phase 1. I am excited to test this stuff. I hope we see quite a bit of it. When we get into Alpha 2, I will be streaming on Twitch and on YouTube. You guys can feel free to come hang out and we can see what we have access to, and I can talk to you guys more then about what it's released with, and we'll just talk about the different things, and I'll provide feedback through the in-game system and also on my channel. Just talk about these different systems, provide my feedback as to where they are in Alpha 2. But, like Intrepid said, this is a work in progress, etc., etc. This is just a rough outline. Like, there's a lot of stuff here, but this is a very, very ambitious game. And what looks like a game for a lot of other MMORPGs is just the start for what Ashlow Creation is hoping to accomplish, which is the cool part. So I'm going to end this video here. If you guys have any questions or comments, please provide in the section below, and I will do my best to answer it. As always, guys, thank you for watching, and all of you rogues have a fantastic day.